Okay, we will start the class. Let them decide on their own. So whether to join the class or not, that is up to them. We cannot wait more than this. Uh, so far in the heat exchangers, classification of heat exchangers we have seen. How to estimate the overall heat transfer coefficient for the heat exchanger we have seen. How to estimate the overall heat transfer coefficient by considering the fouling effects. Fouling effects means due to continuous operation of the heat exchanger, there may be a chance of getting deposited some what is that foreign particles or dust particles over the surfaces, and that will affect the amount of heat transport via that of the surface, and that effect is known as fouling effect. Not only the fouling will takes place due to continuous deposition of the particles, also sometimes the fluid that is flowing over the surface when reacted with the material with which it is making contact, sometimes some kind of chemical reaction also may take place, and that may cause the rust formation also to be deposited over the surface. So these are the responsibilities for causing the surfaces to get fouled. Fouled means clean surfaces will get deposited by means of some kind of foreign particles or dust particles. So that may be due to, so that is already existed in the fluid that may be deposited, or due to chemical reaction also the new substance may be formed or developed and formed over the surface. So on the surface may get fouled, we are saying. So when the surface got fouled, then definitely the amount of heat transferred via the top of the surface is going to be influenced. And how to calculate the overall heat transfer coefficient when consider the uh, fouling effect also into consideration. Even we have solved few problems also. So even for clean surface by considering, or by considering the foul surface also, how to estimate. So the relations are also already available in the data book, and the data book if you see you can find them also. Already I have shown you fouling resistances for various combination of fluids with the surfaces, and with the combination of fouling effects, how to estimate the overall heat transfer coefficient. So this is the overall heat transfer coefficient estimated based on outer surface. This is the overall heat transfer coefficient estimated based on inner surface of the tube. So definitely overall heat transfer coefficient estimated on the based on the inner surface is higher than the, so overall heat transfer coefficient estimated based on outer surface. Ui is always greater than u naught, I have told you, and uia is always constant with u naught ai. Sorry, uiai is always constant. Uiai equal to u naught a naught. Compared to ai, a naught is larger. A naught is larger than ai, therefore ui is always greater than the u naught. That is why two different overall heat transfer coefficient so we will come across. So when estimated based on the inner surface, one relation we will use. When estimated based on outer surface, one more relation we will use. And ui is always greater than the u naught value, since a naught value is larger than the ai value. So that is what, so substituting into these equations, we can calculate the overall heat transfer coefficient by considering the fouling effects. This is the fouling resistance considered on the outer surface. This is the fouling resistance considered on the inner surface. So similarly, fouling effects. So on inner surface, fouling on outer surface by taking also how to estimate overall heat transfer coefficient. If possible, you can remember. Otherwise, also you can refer the data book. There directly the relations are available. So straight away you can substitute and solve the problems. So a compulsory problem they are asking on how to estimate the overall heat transfer coefficient with the consideration of fouling effects. Continuation of that, so heat exchangers design. So where heat exchanger design involves the deciding of the size of the heat exchanger required, transferring so much of heat from hot fluid side to cold fluid side in a heat exchanger. So therefore q equal to uA delta tm. So delta tm means mean temperature difference. How to get it? So mean temperature difference, how to get it, I have already explained. So which is obtained in the form of logarithm. Therefore, it is also called as logarithmic mean temperature difference. So knowing the delta Tm value, overall heat transfer coefficient, and the amount of heat to be transferred in a heat exchanger, the amount of heat to be transferred from hot fluid side to cold fluid side is Q equal to QA, Q equal to QA into delta Tm. Delta Tm. We have already seen that. So this how to estimate delta Tm, how to estimate for clean surfaces and fouling surfaces, how to estimate the amount of heat to be transferred from hot fluid side to cold fluid side. Knowing independently these three, then we can fix up what is the size of the heat exchanger required. Then we can fix up what is the size of the heat exchanger required. So that is how the thermal design is carried out for a heat exchanger. So continuation of that only we are working out the problems. Those we are continuing. Let us see them. So here, hot oil with a capacity rate. Hot oil means is a hot fluid we are saying. So heat exchanger consists of two different fluids. One must be hot and another must be cold. Here hot oil is the hot fluid that has the heat capacity rate of 2500 watt per Kelvin. Heat capacity rate means that is mass flow rate into specific heat. We call it as heat capacity. So the product of mass flow rate and specific heat for the hot fluid. Mass flow rate of hot fluid, specific heat of hot fluid, that is the heat capacity of hot fluid. How much is given? 2500 watt per Kelvin in the problem. That flows through a double pipe heat exchanger. Double pipe means, so there is one tube provided inside the other tube. So this is what is innermost one tube is there, outermost one more tube is there. So through the innermost tube one fluid is allowed, through the annular space created between inner tube and outer tube one more fluid is allowed, and via this of the tube thickness from hot fluid side to cold fluid side the heat transfer will take place. Here hot fluid is allowed to flow through the inner tube. So therefore from inside to outside, that is annular space, the heat transfer will take place. That is what is. So double pipe means two pipes are there. One is inserted in the other pipe, and the heat transfer is taken place from hot fluid side to cold fluid side. And the hot fluid is entering at a temperature of 360. So hot fluid inlet temperature, that is hot fluid inlet temperature is 360 and leaves at 300 degrees centigrade. Hot fluid is leaving at 300 degrees centigrade. TH naught equal to 300 degrees centigrade. Cold fluid enters at 30 degrees centigrade. Cold fluid enters at 30 degrees centigrade. Here the cold fluid is entering at 30 degrees centigrade and leaving at 200 degrees centigrade. You see here, cold fluid on receiving the heat from hot fluid, the temperature increases and that leaves at a temperature of 200 degrees centigrade. Like this, all terminal temperatures, hot fluid inlet, hot fluid outlet, cold fluid inlet, cold fluid outlet, all terminal temperatures are marked there, and the overall heat transfer coefficient also is considered 800 watt per meter square Kelvin. So overall heat transfer coefficient also is calculated. So this is what is overall heat transfer coefficient. Now hot fluid is considered to be flowing to the innermost tube. So now you need to calculate the overall heat, whatever the overall heat transfer coefficient given. So that will be considered as overall heat transfer coefficient based on inner surface. This is indirectly this is. If that is not the case, if hot fluid is allowed to flow through this of the annular space, that means on the outside of the inner tube the hot fluid is flowing. So in that case, the given overall heat transfer coefficient becomes U naught. That all depends on you where we are allowing the hot fluid to flow. Whether inside of the fluid, inside of the tube, or outside of the tube, you are allowing the fluid, so that the given overall heat transfer coefficient is considered. What they are asking, what is the heat exchanger area required? Determine the heat exchanger area while it is functioning like a parallel flow heat exchanger, other case while it is functioning like a counter flow heat exchanger. So that is what they have asked you. So while the heat exchanger is working like a parallel flow heat exchanger, hot fluid, that means both fluids must enter in this, must travel in the same direction. So hot fluid also is entering in left side to right side, and cold fluid is also entering from left side and leaving from the right side, leaving from the right side like this. The direction of hot and cold fluids are in the same direction in the heat exchanger. If you see the temperature profiles for the hot this is parallel flow heat exchanger. So hot fluid is entering with Thi After dropping the heat, the temperature comes down to TH naught. Cold fluid is entering. Actually, this is THI. Cold fluid is entering with low temperature, flowing in the same direction of hot fluid. Then what is happening? So after receiving the heat, the cold fluid temperature increases. The cold fluid temperature increases and goes out. The cold fluid temperature increases and goes out of the heat exchanger here. So that is what is cold fluid inlet temperature is given. All terminal temperatures are given for the heat exchanger. So here, so for when do you use the LMTD method of heat exchanger analysis? For a heat exchanger for both the fluids, when all the temperatures are known, terminal temperatures are known. So that is THI is known, TH naught is known, and TCI is known, TC naught is known. When all terminal temperatures are known, then delta TLM, that is logarithmic mean temperature difference, is obtained as delta T1. That means temperature difference between hot and cold fluid at the inlet, temperature difference between hot and cold fluid at the exit. This is delta T1, this is delta T2. Delta T1 is from here to here the difference, delta T2 is the difference here is, that is what we have taken, THI minus TCI. THI minus TCI. Actually, this is THI minus TCI. This must be of 30. This must be of 30 hot fluid, sorry, cold fluid inlet temperature. Here, cold fluid is entering at inlet temperature. After receiving the heat, that raises the temperature. TC naught must be at higher level than TCI. Wrongly, I have mentioned here. This is TCI. This is TC naught. So therefore, delta T1 must be taken as THI minus TCI. Delta T2 must be taken as TH naught minus TC naught. So this is 200 is correct. This value is correct, but this value is 30. 300 minus 30, this 360 minus 30, this must be of 330 value. This must be of 330 value. Delta T1 is 330 value, and this is what is 330. This is what is 330 minus 100 by ln of 330 by 100. ln of 330 by 100. So this is how, so logarithmic mean temperature. Logarithmic mean temperature for the parallel flow heat exchanger is calculated. So here, to estimate the heat exchanger area, we must use the equation Q equal to UA into delta TLM. You must use the equation for estimation of heat exchanger areas Q equal to UA into delta TLM. This is just now calculated. That's value is 192.64, and here overall heat transfer coefficient is already given as 800 watt per meter square Kelvin. In the problem itself, it is given. So whether it is overall heat transfer coefficient based on inner surface or outer surface, that depends on where we are allowing the hot fluid. So hot fluid is allowed to flow innermost surface. Therefore, this will be of overall heat transfer coefficient based on inner surface. That is what we have considered. So that means Uy is this value. Automatically the area we are estimating will become the corresponding inner surface area. This is nothing but inner surface area required is this much. So here Q equal to UA delta T Lm. So U is given, delta T Lm is just now calculated. How do you calculate Q value? Q is nothing but the amount of heat either lost by the hot fluid or received by the cold fluid. So we know what is the heat capacity of hot fluid, knowing the temperatures of hot fluid inlet and hot fluid outlet. Therefore, Q equal to heat lost by the hot fluid, mH dot into CH, that is nothing but the heat capacity of hot fluid, capital CH, into THI minus TH naught. This value is already given straight away. Heat capacity of the hot fluid is 2500. Its value nothing but, so mH dot into CH value, that's value is this one, and THI minus TH naught, that's also equal to CC into TC naught minus TCI. All things are known here, and we can calculate what is Q value that is calculated is, so 150 into 10 cube watts. In this relation, Q is known, Q is known, UV is known, delta Tm is known, parallel flow heat exchanger area can be calculated. That estimated value of heat exchanger is 0.973 meter square. This is the surface area required. That means here to here, here to here, this is the area required. So this is what is the inner surface area required is 0.973 meter square. Suppose other case, if it is acting like a counter flow heat exchanger, that means hot fluid remains flows in the same direction, but cold fluid is allowed to flow in the reverse direction. Cold fluid entry is now it is becoming like this and leaving from this side. Temperature profiles when drawn, hot fluid is entering with the THA temperature. After losing the heat, the temperature has come down to TH naught. Whereas cold fluid is entering from other side, it has to travel in the opposite direction. Therefore, TCA temperature with which it is entering, after increasing the temperature, cold fluid leaves at a temperature of TC naught. So this is what is. So when both fluids are traveling in reverse direction, these are the temperature profiles. In this case, what is delta T1? THI minus TC naught. That is what I have calculated. 360 minus 200, 160. That is what is delta T2? TH naught minus TCI. So that value equal to 300 minus 30. So 270. Those by substituting. That means 160 minus 270 by ln of 160 by 270. In this case, delta T Lm equal to 210.22 degrees centigrade. So for a counterflow heat exchanger, that is logarithmic mean temperature difference. So we know, so again, so since Q equal to UA delta Q equal to UA delta Tm, so A if you separate out Q by A into delta Tm, so A we are getting Q is same as that of previous case only 150 kilowatts. So that is converted to watts. 150 into 10 cube means so 150 1,50,000 watts divided by what is U, that is UI we are taking. So that is automatically area also becomes AI. So in this case, what we have observed, one time it is made to be operated as parallel flow heat exchanger, another time it is made to be operated as counter flow heat exchanger without changing the terminal temperatures. That means without changing this temperature, without changing this temperature, without changing these temperatures. So well, we'll operate it as one time parallel flow, another time if it is operated as counter flow, then the area of the heat exchanger required is lesser in the case of counter flow heat exchanger. The size of the heat exchanger required is lesser in the case of counterflow heat exchanger. That is why in all practical cases, so one will try to operate like a counterflow mode of heat exchanger. When we are expecting so much as the terminal temperatures, if you operate the parallel flow mode of heat exchanger means a larger area of the heat exchanger is required. So that means which occupies the extra material or which occupies the extra space also. So that is what is the disadvantage. So for the same amount of heat to be transferred with the maintenance of same terminal temperatures both for hot and cold fluids, the area of the heat exchanger is smaller in the case of counterflow mode when compared to that of the parallel flow mode. So that is why in all the practical cases, any heat exchanger also is made to be operated like a counterflow heat exchanger with a reason for, so the smaller size of the heat exchanger is sufficient. So that is what I have mentioned here. For the same terminal temperatures, in both the case also same terminal temperatures are maintained, then the surface area required for a counterflow heat exchanger is smaller. So compared to that of parallel flow arrangement. So that is the advantage of operating like a counterflow heat exchanger. In all the practical cases, when you are expecting the smaller size of the heat exchanger means it must be made to be operated like a counterflow heat exchanger. Next case you see here, in a counterflow concentric tube heat exchanger is used to cool engine oil, So here the heat exchanger is used for what? To cool the engine oil. Indirectly, what does it mean by engine oil is considered to be a hot fluid in this case? Engine oil is considered to be a hot fluid. So for that hot fluid, so the specific heat value is given as 2130 joules per kg Kelvin. That engine oil is cooled from where to where, what temperature to what temperature? Hot fluid inlet temperature is 160. That means engine oil is allowed to enter into the heat exchanger at 160, and after dropping the heat value from the hot fluid, the temperature has come down to 60 degrees. That means a net of 100 degrees centigrade drop is taken place in the hot fluid. So with the help of water, that is used as the cold medium. Cold water is initially available at what temperature? 25 degrees centigrade. That means for cold water inlet temperature is known. So that is cold water outlet temperature so far is not known. So the fluid which is considered as hot fluid, that is engine oil. So the hot fluid inlet temperature is given. This is THI. This is what is THI. Whereas this is TH naught. This is TH naught. Then water is considered as a cold medium where that is available at TCI, that is 25 degrees centigrade. The flow rate of cold water, that is MC dot, is given. MC dot is given as 2 kg per second. MC dot is given as 2 kg per second, and cold water is allowed to flow through a tube of inner tube of 0.5 meter diameter. The flow rate of cold water flows through the inner tube, where the hot fluid is flowing through the gap between two tubes, that is annular space. So when you take the, so here you see here, through the innermost tube cold fluid is flowing through the gap between the tubes, that is in annular space. So hot fluid is allowed to flow. Hot fluid is allowed to flow. That is also allowed at the same rate of 2 kg per second. Both hot fluid is also allowed at same 2 kg per second. That means mh dot, mass flow rate of hot fluid, mass flow rate of cold fluid, both are at same rates only are allowed to flow through the tubes. So the diameter of the tubes are given. The innermost tube has the diameter of 0.5 meters and the outer diameter of the annular space. Outer annulus having the outer diameter of zero point 0.7 meters. So that is the value they gave. Overall heat transfer coefficient is given 250 watt per meter square. How long must be the heat exchanger is required? What is the length of the heat exchanger? Earlier case what we have done, knowing all other things, we have decided the heat exchanger area. Heat exchanger area equal to, by taking it as, what is the surface area required? Since the tube has a circular shape or the cylindrical shape, pi dl is the area. So therefore AI by equating to pi dil, so the length of the heat exchanger can be fixed. So given the diameter of the inner tube, given the diameter of the inner tube as 0.5 meters, then what is the length of the tube required? They are asking you to calculate. So that is what is the case. So the only difference between the earlier problem and the present problem is, first we get the area of the heat exchanger, that by equating to pi di into L, the length of the heat exchanger is decided. The length of the tube is decided. What is the amount of heat lost by the hot fluid? So hot fluid is allowed at a rate of 2 kg. Hot fluid has the specific heat of this much. Hot fluid temperature drop is 160 to 160. So then what is the amount of heat lost by the hot fluid is this much. So when there is no heat losses, the heat lost by the hot fluid totally must be taken by the cold fluid also, equating those two. Since heat lost by the hot fluid equal to heat gained by the cold fluid, from there equating this and this, Tc naught also can be obtained, that is obtained as 75.88 degrees centigrade. Now for this case of the heat exchanger, counterflow heat exchanger, so we know all the terminal temperatures. This is known, this is known, cold fluid inlet temperature is known, cold fluid outlet temperature is also estimated from the known relations, that is equal to 75.88. So when you know all the terminal temperatures, LMTD method of heat exchanger analysis must be used. So from there, what is that is obtained? LMTD value, that is logarithmic mean temperature difference. How do you calculate that one? Delta T1, that is the temperature difference between hot and cold fluid at the inlet section, temperature difference between hot and cold fluid at the exit section of the heat exchanger. So delta T1 equal to THI minus TC naught, that's value equal to 84.12. Delta T2 equal to TH naught minus TCI, that's value equal to 60 minus 25, 35. From there, substituting this and this, 84.12 minus 35 by ln of 84.12 by 35. From there, delta T Lm we have got for the counterflow heat exchanger, its value equal to 56.01 degrees centigrade. What they are asking earlier, in the place of L, what we were using area one, when we are using A equal to Q by U into delta T Lm. So here in the place of this, Q by U into delta T Lm. So from there we are getting area. So area again is nothing but pi di into L. So straight away L is calculated by keeping pi di also in the denominator, like that. So maintaining the same diameter for the inner tube, what is the length of the tube to be provided is 19.37 meters. This is how the size of the tube also is fixed like this. Earlier we have fixed the area. Now since area equal to pi dil, since inner surface area equal to pi dil, earlier case straight away this is what is calculated without considering of all these. Now the diameter is given, so aa equal to pi dal. L is separated means pi da also comes to the denominator. What is diameter of the inner tube they have given is 0.5 meters. If you see here, what is the inner diameter of the tube they have given is 0.5 meters. Then what is the length of the inner tube? That is what is fixed here. The length of the inner tube is 19.37 meters, means automatically outer tube length also must be to the same length. It must have contact. Both inner tube must be provided for 19.37 meters length. Outer tube also must be provided for 19.37 meters length. So next kind of heat exchangers are condensers and evaporators. Condensers and evaporators means where one of the fluids are undergoing the phase change. In the case of condensers and evaporators, one of the fluids are undergoing the phase change. Here, in the case of evaporator, without changing the pressure, one of the fluids will undergo the phase change without the change of pressures. Without the change of pressures, one of the fluids will undergo the phase change. In the case of evaporator, the hot fluid is so hot fluid is maintaining constant temperature without the change of pressure. But whereas cold fluid, so when allowed into the evaporator, so upon receiving of heat from the hot fluid, cold fluid increases the temperature. So this is what is. In the case of condenser, cold fluid temperature remains constant and hot fluid only is undergoing the phase change. So that is what is. Cold fluid is changing the phase. So that is, in the case of evaporator, hot fluid maintains at constant temperature. Condenser, in the case of condensers, cold fluid maintains at constant temperatures. So this is what is. Suppose 100 degrees centigrade water is converted to 100 degrees centigrade vapor. 100 degrees centigrade water has converted to 100 degrees centigrade vapor when you consider this as a hot fluid. Whereas as a cold fluid, if you allow the, so water has something like that, so that allows at low temperature and receiving the heat from hot fluid, so then cold fluid temperature increases and the temperature is becoming Tc naught value. In the case of condensers, cold fluid, that is vapor started to condense. Vapor started to condense means while it is condensing from 100 degrees centigrade steam to 100 degrees centigrade liquid, the temperature doesn't change. The temperature doesn't change, but whereas hot fluid, so whatever the fluid is flowing through a tube that is in contact, that will drop the temperature. So this is what is. Hot fluid is dropping the temperature. Hot fluid is dropping the temperature. Cold fluid is remaining in constant temperature. So this is what is. In the case of evaporators and condensers, one of the fluids are undergoing the phase change. In the case of evaporator, hot fluid remains constant. In the case of condenser, cold fluid remains constant. In the case of condenser, cold fluid remains constant. In the case of evaporator, hot fluid remains constant. This is what is. In the case of evaporator, hot fluid remains constant. In the case of condenser, cold fluid remains constant. This is what you have to remember. So this is, so when it means that specific heat of hot fluid is infinity. That means immediately on receiving the heat, hot fluid changes to other phase. So that is nothing but heat capacity of hot fluid is too larger, heat capacity of cold fluid is too larger, therefore cold fluid is undergoing the phase change, hot fluid is undergoing the phase change and transfer of heat. So immediately the phase change will take place. So that is what is nothing but the, so evaporators are condensed. Otherwise, there is no difference between temperature profiles which we have seen from the earlier case and the present case. When comes to the evaporators and condensers, so one of the fluids are undergoing the phase change. In the case of evaporators, hot fluid is undergoing the phase change. So that is without change of temperatures. So the hot fluid is simply changing the phase, whereas cold fluid is increasing the temperature, maintaining in the same phase. Maintaining in the same phase, cold fluid is maintaining in the same phase. Temperature just increases. In the case of uh, in the case of condenser and evaporator, so these are the differences we can see that. These are the differences we can see that. In the case of condenser, so that is hot fluid, vapor, that is nothing but vapor at 100 degrees centigrade started to condense to what is that? Started to condense to liquid at 100 degrees centigrade. So that is what is hot fluid. Vapor is maintaining constant temperature in the case of condenser, whereas other fluid, that is cold medium, that is simply increasing the temperature on receiving the heat. In the case of evaporator, cold fluid is maintaining constant temp. Water is receiving the heat, and 100 degrees centigrade liquid is converted to 100 degrees centigrade vapor, whereas hot fluid, that is nothing but the some may be of hot oil or whatever it may be. On receiving the heat from hot fluid temperature reduces. So this is what is the changes are taken place. In the case of condenser, hot fluid maintains constant temperature. In the case of evaporator, cold fluid maintains constant temperature. So here, as a hot fluid, we can imagine as steam or vapor. You can imagine this as a steam or vapor. You can imagine the hot fluid as steam or vapor. In the case of cold fluid, water you can treat it as cold fluid. Water you can 100 degrees centigrade water will become 100 degrees centigrade steam on receiving the heat. Here on losing the heat, 100 degrees centigrade steam will convert to 100 degrees centigrade liquid. So just simple phase change is taken place. One of the fluid. In the case of condenser, hot fluid is maintained at constant temperature. Other fluid is simply so changing the temperature. In the case of evaporator, so one fluid is, that is cold fluid is maintaining constant temperature, other fluid is changing the temperature. So that is what is. For this case, again how to estimate the logarithmic mean temperature means, so that is delta T1, Thi minus Tci, Th naught minus Tc naught. But here Th naught and Thi are same. Along this line, Thi and Th naught are same. So here, in the case of evaporator, Tci and Tc naught are also same. So what is delta T1? Thi minus Tci. What is delta T2? Th naught minus Tc naught. Tc naught equal to Tci. This is the only difference between the earlier case of heat exchangers and the present case of heat exchangers. So here, in the case of evaporators, cold fluid remains constant. In the case of condensers, hot fluid remains constant. But that will undergo the phase change. Here the cold fluid also undergo the phase change. Other fluid just changes the temperature without undergoing the phase change. In the case of evaporator, one fluid is undergoing the phase change. In the case of condenser, one more fluid is undergoing the phase change. We have to differentiate that. In the case of condenser, hot fluid is undergoing the phase change, maintaining the constant temperature. Other fluid changes the temperature without the change of phase. So in the case of evaporator, cold fluid remains constant at the same temperatures. Other fluid is changing the temperature. This is what is the difference we can. Now you see here we are working out a problem on condensers or evaporators. Saturated steam, that is basically in vapor state at 120 degrees centigrade. So while started to transfer the heat to the cold medium, so is condensing. Saturated steam is condensing means in the case of condenser, saturated steam must be at a constant temperature. So that is saturated steam is at high temperature, that must be at constant temperature. This is what is a constant horizontal line is. So Thi equal to Th naught in the case of condenser. So that is allowed to condense over a tube. The heat transfer coefficient is given. U naught value is given. Determine the surface area required. What is A naught value? When the heat exchange is taken place, when the heat exchanging is taken place with the capacity of mass flow rate of 1000 kg per hour, and when water flows from 20 degrees centigrade to 100 degrees centigrade, water is allowed at 20 degrees centigrade. On receiving the heat from hot fluid, the cold fluid temperature increases to 90 degrees centigrade. 90 degrees centigrade. So while the hot fluid is converting the phase change, the amount of latent heat of condensation is taken to be 2200 degrees centigrade. In this case, what is delta TLM is? So delta T1 is THI minus TCI. What is delta T2? TH naught minus TC naught. But THI equal to TH naught in the case of condenser. Therefore, so those I have separately calculated, delta T1, delta T2. At inlet as well as at exit of the heat exchanger, what is the temperature difference between hot and cold fluid? From there, delta Tm I have got it 58.14 degrees centigrade. Then rate of heat transferred is, so the heat lost by the hot fluid, that is m dot into hfg, since phase change is taken place. Otherwise also cold fluid simply is increasing its temperature. Cold fluid is simply increasing its temperature. Therefore, mc dot cc into tc naught minus TCI equal to m dot into hfg. So both are same. When phase change is taken place, this is what is the heat lost by the hot fluid. This is what is the heat lost by the hot fluid. Also, the same heat is received by the cold fluid. Then what is the heat received by the cold fluid is this much. Heat lost by the hot fluid is this much. What they are asking to calculate as an extension of this problem, if you see here, what is rate of condensation of steam? That is m dot is how much they are asking you to calculate. So that is m dot is how much? Knowing q equal to this much, m dot is nothing but this value divided by h of g. So that's what is taken. Q equal to ms dot into h of g. So Q is taken. Then what is the area required? Also we have estimated Q equal to UA into delta Tm. This is calculated. U is given. Q is calculated. Then what is the area of the condenser required? We have decided. So that is, then what is the rate of condensation means, since Q equal to m dot into h of g, m dot is calculated as 0.037 kg per second. That means for every 1 second, this much of vapor is started to condense. When you feel that this is smaller value, it's converted to per hour. So multiplied by 3600. So this is what we have got. This is the way. So the problems have to be solved. So when given on what is that parallel flow or counter flow or condensers or evaporators, when heat exchangers are given, this is how the problems have to be solved. In any of these cases also, in the case of condenser, hot fluid temperature remains constant. This is what to be remembered. In the case of evaporator, cold fluid temperature remains constant, and delta T1 as usual is calculated. Earlier, this is considered to be of, this is the profile. Continuously there is the reduction in temperature for hot fluid. Now in this case, the temperature of hot fluid remains constant. So other line remains same. Other line remains same for the cold fluid. So this is the only difference we have got. What is delta T1? Delta T1 means at the inlet of the heat exchanger. So this is what is temperature difference between hot and cold fluid. Temperature difference between hot and cold fluid. That is TH naught minus TC naught, THI minus TCI. Those by getting, I have substituted into logarithmic mean temperature difference. I got that ultimately using this relation. So the heat exchanger area is fixed. The same heat is also that is received by the cold fluid. So when the hot fluid is rejecting the heat, what is the amount of heat rejected by the hot fluid is this much when there is a phase change. Equating these two quantities, rate of condensation is fixed like this. That's value equal to 0.037 kg per second. Hope you have understood. And tomorrow's class we will see how to solve the how to analyze shell and tube heat exchangers. How to analyze the shell and tube heat exchangers we will see. So tomorrow's class we will discuss, and within another 2 more classes we will complete this topic and then move on to the radiation topic also. Thank you.